Hi, my name is Joaquin and I'll be talking about the drug Mandragora officinarum. The street name for Mandragora officinarum is mandrake, and for the rest of the presentation, I will be referring to it as mandrake. Fun fact, mandrake was used in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Mandrake root was used to make a restorative drought potion that revives people who have been petrified by the basilisk. The category of the drug, it's a delirium hallucinogen, anticlinaric plants, and contains tropine alkaloids, which produces delirium, hallucination, sedation, and narcotics. History. Mandrake has a history from the classical ancient past through medieval Europe. It has been used medicinally, like for anesthesia. It is surrounded by folklore, but its use has declined as isolated alkaloids and safer drugs were developed. But the plant does still appear in many historical herbals and magical texts. Methods of use: orally, historically used orally as decoctions and powders; topically, often used topically and applied to skin, and combined with wine and vinegar, soaked in wine or vinegar and sold. Schedule category of the drug. Mandrake is not scheduled at the federal level under the U.S. Controlled Substance Act. However, the active tropine alkaloids are pharmaceutical substances regulated by FDA when used as drugs. Some state laws may list mandrake as prohibited hallucinogenic plants for possession. Medical use: historically, people consumed it in wine, teas, or powders, or inhaled its vapor to relieve pain, induce sleep, or act as anesthetic before surgery. In ancient Greece and Rome, doctors like Hippocrates used it medicinally, while in medieval Europe it was also used in magical rituals as a fertility charm. Because the plant's active chemicals, it can be toxic. Even some small overdoses cause hallucinations or paralysis. By the modern era, it was largely replaced by safer medical compounds. Legality: federal in the U.S., so possession of the plant itself is not federally scheduled as a controlled drug substance, but manufacturers/sellers making medical claims or selling extracts for therapeutic use fall under FDA rules. State and local rules. Legality: some states may include mandragora in the list of hallucinogenic plants or otherwise restrict distribution. Internationally, legality varies by country. Some jurisdictions regulate sale of toxic plant products. Effects on the brain chemistry. Mandrake's main effects arise from tropine alkaloids. Mechanism: competitive antagonism of muscarinic acetylcholine receptors (MACHRS), and that decreases parasympathetic cholinergic activity. This produces anticlinaric syndrome, which is dry mouth, tachycardia, and central effects: confusion, delirium, hallucinations, agitations, or sedation. The toxic levels: there is no single universally accepted toxic dose for whole plant material because alkaloids content vary by species, part of plant's maturity, and preparation. Case reports document hospitalizations after ingestions of berry or root extracts. Because variability is large, mandrake is considered potentially lethal at modest doses and could be treated as highly toxic. Tolerance: there is no limited tolerance literature on recreational tolerance to mandrake itself. For later tropine alkaloids, tolerance is not typically reported as a major feature the way it is for opiates or stimulants. Withdrawal symptoms: no well-characterized withdrawal syndrome relates to opiate withdrawals is described for mandrake/tropine alkaloids. After acute anticlinaric intoxication, patients generally recover as the drug clears out the system. Overdose levels and symptoms: symptoms are dry flushed skin, hypothermia, dilated pupils, blurred vision, tachycardia, agitation, confusion, hallucinations, seizures, severe cases, coma and death, often from respiratory failure or cardiac complications. Overdose severity depends on amount and individual factors. Cost of drug: there is no standard street price for mandrake as recreational drugs in the way heroin or cocaine are priced. The mandrake root or dry plant material may appear different in herbal vintage shops or online sellers. Online right now, a 1 ounce bag of mandrake root herbs costs $5.55. Trends of usage in the United States. There is no reliable population level tracking specifically for mandrake. Scientific reviews say mandrake's role in popular medicine is now marginal compared to historical use. Trends of uses in the world. Use persists mostly in traditional folk medicines in the Mediterranean and nearby regions as part of ritual practices in some places, but there is no large surveillance data sets tracking mandrake use globally. Trends of the trends of terms of age and ethnicity. Age there are no demographic surveillance data for mandrake users comparable to major substances. Again, it's just tend to follow local cultural practices and rather consistent demographic patterns. Interesting fact, mandrake roots were historically thought to scream when uprooted and have magical powers, a belief so widespread it became part of medieval lore and appeared in many herbal and literary works. What else to know? Mandrake is unpredictable, do not ingest plant material or folk preparation, and alkaloid concentrations vary, which is why it's pretty dangerous. Um, if you'd like to learn more about mandrake, you could visit USDA/US Forest Service for mandrake summary, toxicology, and traditional uses. Thank you, and here are my sources.